In this video we're making a simple single strand bracelet with a button and loop clasp. So we've got our button on one side and we've made a little loop that fits it perfect on the other. I'm using a metal flower button which is 17mm wide, and then we need 50cm of 2mm satin nylon cord. First up we place our button on the thread, and then we're going to tie our first knot, which is a variation of a barrel knot. Now we've got the shorter end on the top here, but it still has quite a bit of length on it, and we bring it over that front cord, down and out the back to form our first little loop there. So just hold on to that gently and then bring that thread over the front, down and out the back for a second loop, and then again for a third loop as well, except that on this third loop we're only bringing it around a half a loop. And then instead of bringing it around that third full loop, we're going to bring our tail end up the hole that's in between the button and our loops. So bringing it up that hole there, and then holding that tail end while you pull that knot down nice and tight and tidy. You want to pull the knot up nice and close to the button, and your little loops should come down nice and tight as well. You can pull that really nice and tight, and once you're happy with it, then we can cut this little tail off nice and short and singe the ends so it doesn't fray. So I'm just melting that end in the flame and then tapping it on the side to fuse it all together. Now we're going to make the loop for our clasp. So the hardest thing about this seems to be getting the position of the loop right. So I measure it around my wrist to start and see where the loop needs to be and where the knot needs to be just before the loop. So that's the point I'm grabbing right there. I'll just measure it to show you. My wrist is about 16cm around, and that position there where I want the knot is 16cm as well. So pretty much your wrist measurement size is where you want your knot to be. So bring this right side cord around to form a loop on that spot, and then bring the tail end up the loop. Now gently holding that loop there, we're going to bring this thread around the back of the other thread. Now we don't want this loop here to get too big, because this loop here is going to be the loop for our clasp. So trying to keep it about the size of our button, and then bringing this cord around this other thread and then placing it back down the loop. Now we gently pull those threads and pull the knot tight, trying to keep the knot in the same position. So just gently working it tight. This is actually a bowline knot, so it's a nice secure knot that doesn't slip. And we're trying to keep that loop about the same size as the button. We want the button to fit through quite snugly and not add a lot of length to your bracelet. You basically want that loop to be as small as it can be, but still fit the button through. You also want to check it on your wrist, make sure it fits okay, and if you're happy with the knot, then you can cut that tail nice and short and singe the end a little bit so it fuses together and doesn't fray. And there's your simple single strand bracelet with a button and loop clasp.